Alright guys, so this is the first video I've made in a while. I've been really busy lately and haven't had time. But in the meantime, we've gotten about 3 new trailers for Pokemon Sword and Shield, and I haven't had time to talk about them yet, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to smash them all into one video and kind of hit the high points from each one. I'm not going to go over every little minuscule detail. I have links in the descriptions to all of it if for some reason you haven't seen them and you want every little minute detail, it'll be there. But anyway, I'm going to hit all the things that I feel are important. So first off, we got a few more human characters revealed. The first is a dude named Bede, I think. I don't know how to pronounce any of these people's names, I'm going to be honest. I think his name's Bede. He's another one of your rivals. Back when they first showed Hop, they said that he was one of your rivals. So we're finally figuring out who the other ones are. This guy's one of them. He's in the gym challenge like you are. He was endorsed by Chairman Rose. The only Pokemon they showed him using was a Duosion. So I'm sure he's got some new Gen 8 Pokemon, but it's one they haven't revealed yet, so they just showed him using him. And they also mentioned that he had other objectives, so whatever that means. And he does look like he's going to end up being evil, but like every fucking character they've showed so far looks like they're going to end up being evil, so, who the hell knows. But they showed him, and then they showed your third rival, which I believe is your last one, which is a girl named Marnie, and she's like got the goth girl look, the leather jacket, the dark hair, and she uses one of the new Pokemon that I'm going to talk about in a minute. Marnie's been really popular. She's been getting a lot of fan art, a lot of very inappropriate fan art. But anyway, so those are your other 2 rivals along with Hop. So it looks like the people that were bitching about friendly rival, only one of your rivals is going to be friendly, and you're going to have another one who's an asshole and another one who has a vagina. But anyway, they also revealed the villainous team. I use that term loosely because it's very clear at this point that they're going to end up being like Team Skull, and they're not going to be the actual villains of the game. They're just going to be there to sort of get in your way and be annoying. Their name is Team Yell, which is a stupid name, but it fits perfectly because these people look absolutely retarded. These designs are terrible. I hate everything about them. I just hate these designs. They're supposed to be like Marnie's completely obnoxious, obsessed fans. So they're like totally in love with everything that Marnie does, and they go to all her battles and like cheer, and they have the towels with Marnie and all the stuff. So they're basically just her obnoxious fan base. I guess it's supposed to be based off of like the insane people from the UK who lose their mind over soccer. But they look like absolute morons, so I'm not really a fan of any of their designs. But that's pretty much all the human people they showed so far. I'm sure Team Yell isn't going to end up being the actual threat. It's probably going to be someone involved with Chairman Rose or his secretary lady or whatever the fuck. But anyway, so getting on to the actual Pokemon, which is more important anyway. They showed the Pika clone, because we get that every gen. So the Pika clone this time is named Morpeko. It's electric and dark type. It's based on like a little hamster. And this thing is weird because it's got a new ability called Hunger Switch that actually lets it change form. So it's got 2 different forms, one of which is called Full Belly Mode, where like the main section of its body is yellow, and this is like its normal form. And I believe it just happens at the end of every turn. I don't think you have to do anything specific to actually trigger it. But at the end of each turn, the ability kicks in and it changes from full belly mode to what they're calling hangry mode, which is the cringiest fucking name they could possibly think of for this thing. I refuse to call it that. Uh, in Japanese, it's just hungry mode, so I'm calling it hungry mode because that makes me sound like less of an idiot. So I'm going with that. So it changes to hungry mode. The yellow on its body changes to purple, its eyes turn red, and basically it just gets really pissed off because it's starving. So the whole thing is based around, it being hungry, basically. And they said that it actually has little like pockets on its side that it uses to pack around berry seeds. That's what it uses to eat. So it has to stay fed all the time, or basically it turns into the Hulk. Now this thing has a signature move called Aura Wheel that changes type based on what form it's in. So if it's in full belly mode, Aura Wheel is an electric type move. But if it's in hungry mode, then Aura Wheel is a dark type move. So it gets stabbed from it either way, but depending on which mode it is, it will change type. Now, honestly, this thing is probably my least favorite of the Pika clones that we've ever gotten. Partially because of the cringy name, but other than that, it just bothers me. Like the on its back, it doesn't have a tail, but like there's a pattern in its fur that looks like Pikachu's tail. So it looks like they're leaning too hard on it being Pikachu. Like obviously the Pika clones all share aspects of Pikachu's design, mostly, with the electric sacs in their cheeks, which this thing has as well. But it's got the yellow fur, it's got the Pikachu tail on its ass. It's just too close. They should have differentiated it a little bit. I think if they just changed the ass design and made it some color besides yellow, I probably would have liked it a lot more. I do like its little pockets. The little pockets are cute, but other than that, I'm not really a huge fan of this thing. So next up is another new Pokemon named Poltegeist, which is basically just a haunted teapot. That's what it is. It's pure ghost type. Its ability is weak armor. And basically, they said that this thing was considered to be a pest, like in restaurants and stuff. It gets into the silverware and haunts the teapots and, causes mischief and stuff. Design wise, I mostly like this design. The only thing about it that bothers me is its feet. Because, like, it's a floating teapot and its head, like, pops up out of, like, the lid of the pot. And then sometimes it can, like, come out of the spout. Which, honestly, it looks cuter coming out of the spout. So I wish that was, like, its default pose. But when its head is poking out of the lid, it's got, like, two tiny little feet sticking out of the bottom. And the feet look dumb. Like, if the feet just weren't there, I feel like it would be a lot better of a design. But other than that, I like it. So, when it's coming out of the spout, it's adorable. So I'm kind of mixed on this one. And then we got another new one named Cramorant, which is based on a cormorant, which is kind of like a seagull. It's like one of those birds that dive in the water and catch fish. Flying and water type. Another new ability called Gulp Missile. Now this ability is pretty cool. What it does is whenever Cramorant uses Surf or Dive, it comes up with a fish in its mouth. And if it gets hit by an attack while it has the fish in its mouth, it spits the fish out and hits people in the face with it and deals damage. So that's a cool ability. I think that's a really unique idea. I like that. Design wise, himself for Cramorant, he's basically Derp Bird. He's got like the big wide eyes and a really derpy look on his face. His feathers sort of make a bib for him, since his whole gimmick is like eating stuff. So overall, I'm fairly liking this design. Now, the question I have is they showed him the fish that was in his mouth. It was a very unique looking fish. And I'm wondering if it's supposed to be just a generic fish or if it's actually another new Pokemon too. I feel like if it was going to be a Pokemon, I don't know why they didn't just go ahead and reveal it now and say what its name is. So it might just be like generic fish missile. But I do like the fish's design. I hope it does end up being a Pokemon because I feel like it could evolve into something really cool. Now, they didn't show this in the trailer, but the one credible leak that we've gotten that's gotten like almost everything right in it, the Ben Affleck leak, it did mention Pokemon that could go in the water and come up with a fish in its mouth. So it sounds like it was talking about Cramorant. But the leak also mentioned that there was a chance that it could come up with a Pikachu in its mouth and shoot that out instead. So I don't know if that's actually going to be a thing or if that's a little detail that the leak got wrong. But I think that would be really cool if that was part of the ability too. Like, there's a small chance that it'll end up with a Pikachu in its mouth instead of the little fish thing. And then maybe, like, if they added another effect to it to where, like, if Pikachu gets launched, then it not only deals damage but also paralyzes them, which would make sense since Pikachu has static anyway. So that would be a really neat idea. I don't know if that'll actually end up being true. They didn't make any mention of it. But anyway, so then the continuing on with new Pokemon, but going a little bit different. They actually made a good announcement for once. This is one of the things that I was really wanting to happen, and I'm actually really happy about this. They said that regional variants are returning. So we are getting Galarian forms. And beyond that, they actually fixed the big problem that I had with the variants from last gen. Because I bitched a lot in Gen 7 about all the regional variants being needlessly limited to Generation 1 Pokemon. Well, they're not doing that this time. The Galarian forms, the new regional variants, are going to be from different generations. So immediately right off the bat, they already took the thing from last gen and actually improved upon it. And they're pretty much doing the exact thing that I wish that they would do. So I'm really happy about this. Now, if they hadn't fucked up literally every other aspect of this game, I'd be really excited right now. But this alone doesn't make up for all the other issues. But anyway, getting on to the new variants themselves, they only showed 3 so far. Now, the 3 they showed didn't particularly thrill me, but the concept has me excited. So, hopefully we'll get some more revealed soon. But anyway, the first one they showed was Galarian Wheezing. Now, this one's Gen 1, obviously. I think it's a situation. They didn't show a Galarian coughing, so I think it's going to be a situation like Alolan Raichu or Alolan Marowak, where the base form is still the same, but the evolution is the variant. It's now Poison and Fairy type, so it gained the Fairy type, which I believe that is a new type combination, if I'm not mistaken. Its abilities, it's got 2 abilities. One is Levitate, and the other is a new ability called Neutralizing Gas, which actually negates the abilities of all other Pokemon in battle. Now, this could be a big deal, but there's too many ifs right now to tell, because, like, this would obviously buff Pokemon that have a hindering ability, like Slacking or Archeops or Regigigas or someone like that, and it would completely, spell death for Shedinja. But we don't even know if this ability makes exceptions for any of those abilities, or if any of those Pokemon even be in the fucking game to begin with. So it's too soon to really tell. But anyway, on to his actual design. This thing is very much a meme design. Uh, its body is like gray now instead of purple, and it's got two giant top hats that are like also smokestacks. And then it's got like green gas making like a mustache and beard around its little faces. So it's a very weird, very meme worthy design. A million jokes have already been made about it. But I do think this is probably my favorite of the three that they showed. It's a meme design, but I think it works. I think it's a situation kind of like a Alolan Executor, where, yeah, the design is kind of stupid, but it's stupid in a good way. Unlike Alolan Dugtrio, that's stupid in just a stupid way. These sword designs are really hit or miss for people, and this one hits for me. I think it works. So, this is probably my favorite out of the three that they showed. They did mention that it actually takes in polluted air through its mouth and releases clean air through its smokestack top hat thing. So I imagine this thing is gonna like hang around factories and stuff and like purify the air. I guess that's gonna be its gimmick. So anyway, the next ones that they showed was Galarian Zigzagoon and Galarian Linoon. Now, I mentioned these together because they're pretty much all the same. They're both dark and normal type now. So they kept their normal typing, but they gained dark. Same situation as the Alolan Rattata line. Their abilities are Pick Up and Gluttony, which I believe are the same abilities that Hoennian Zigzagoon has. And design-wise, basically, they just joined Kiss. That's their design. Their fur is black and white now. They got the star pattern around their eyes. They got their tongue hanging out. They literally joined Kiss. Now, if you're a Kiss fan, I'm sure you're really excited about this. I don't give a fuck about Kiss, so this doesn't really hit it for me. I actually like the Hoennian variants more. They did mention that the Galarian line is apparently the oldest branch of its species. So I guess they're doing like the Alolan Executor thing where this variant is like the true version and the one we've known for all these years is actually the one that has changed. They also mentioned that Galarian Linoon is commonly used by Team Yell. So it'll probably be one of the like staple, villainous team Pokemon that you have to face a million fucking times. But the bigger news coming out of this is, as we all know, with the Hoennian Zigzagoon and Hoennian Linoon, that's as far as they go. He evolves into Linoon and then stops. But with the Galarian line, he's actually going to evolve one step further. Which means, for one thing, that marks the return of legacy evolutions, which again is another thing I mentioned before that I really wanted to come back. We haven't, outside of Sylveon, we haven't gotten any legacy evolutions since Gen 4. So this has been a long time coming. I think it's a good idea, I think it's a good move, and I'm glad they're doing it here. And they're actually combining it with their other gimmicks, which again is something I said I wish they do. Combine their different ideas. So they're combining the legacy evolutions with the regional variants and having variants of certain lines evolve further than they normally would. So what we have now is Galarian Linoon, who will evolve into a new Pokemon named Obstagoon. Now, Obstagoon is, again, dark normal, so he keeps the same typing. Abilities are Reckless and Guts. And this thing is a full-on member of Kiss. Like, he's bipedal now. He looks like a badger, so he's Kiss Badger. He's got the furry boots and everything. He's like full-on Kiss. He's still got the tongue hanging out. They went all in on this. And they said that the reason Linoon evolves again is because he's got fierce competition from other members of its species. So it basically just evolved further in order to compete and survive. So that's like the logical reason behind this. And they said that lastly, Obstagoon has a new signature move called Obstruct. Now, they didn't really give details of how Obstruct works. From the way they made it sounds like it might be like a variation of Counter or something like that, where you had to have the opponent's attack first and it retaliates. So, I don't know the details of that, but that's this new move. So, all three of these designs, like I said, since I'm not a big Kiss fan, they don't really hit it for me. But I'm happy about the concepts coming back. I'm happy about the concepts of regional variants and the concept of Legacy Evolutions returning. So, overall, I'm happy about this, even though I'm not really into these specific designs. Now, my question is, are the Legacy Evolutions going to be limited only to the regional variants? Like, are we going to get a new Evolution, or the Ben Affleck leak that mentioned Surfetched as a evolution for Farfetch'd? Is Farfetch'd going to get a Galarian form, and that will be what evolves into Surfetch'd, or is regular Farfetch'd just going to evolve into Surfetch'd? Needlessly limiting the Legacy Evolutions to only the variants sounds exactly like something Game Freak would do. So it honestly wouldn't surprise me if the only Legacy Evolutions we get are ones for Pokemon that end up getting variants. I'm also wondering if some Pokemon that do evolve will get a variant that can't. Like, again, the Ben Affleck leak mentioned a Galarian Meowth that could Gigantamax. So we might end up getting another variant of Meowth, but this one can't evolve into Persian at all. So instead of getting a Galarian Persian to go with it, it'll just be a Meowth and stay a Meowth. If they do that, I hope they at least like increase its stats and stuff to make it worthwhile. But anyway, I guess we'll see. So, that's all the Pokemon they showed, but beyond that, we did get like more general information about the game. They showed a new feature called Pokejobs, which basically sounds like it's replacing the Pokepelago stuff from Gen 7, where you can take Pokemon that are in your PC boxes and send them off to do jobs. The whole thing is accessed from the PC, which is possessed by another fucking Rotom now, named Rotami. They're really trying their damnedest to make me hate Rotom. Like, I like Rotom as a Pokemon, but they're jamming him into literally everything, and it's making me turn on him. But anyway, you talk to Rotami, and there's a list of available jobs that people want to have done, and you can select Pokemon from your PC and send them off to do the jobs. So any Pokemon you're not actively carrying around with you and using, you can still put to work and have them do other things. Now they mentioned that this will be a way to gain items and also have your Pokemon earn experience points and what they called base points. Now I'm not sure, is base points their name for IVs? Because if it is, this thing might be replacing hyper training too. I'm not sure if that's what they mean by base points or if they're just talking about EVs. If they're talking about IVs, then that probably means hyper training is out too, and this is going to be the new system in order to increase your Mon's IVs. But anyway, they showed that, so that's fine. Another little detail they mentioned was that the max raid battles is going to be how we end up getting Pokemon with their hidden abilities this gen. So they're bound and determined, like from every game after Oris, they're bound and determined to make getting hidden abilities just more and more of a pain in the ass. Because now, if you want a Pokemon that can Gigantamax and have its hidden ability, both those things are only available from the max raid battles. And it sounds like both of them will probably have a pretty small chance of happening too. So If you want a hidden ability Gigantamax Corviknight or something, you're gonna have a bitch of a time actually getting that. So, have fun, I guess. So then the last big feature they showed off was something new called Pokemon Camp. And basically what this is it's the replacement for the Pokemon Me or Pokemon Refresh from previous gens. It's the little mini game that lets you play with your Pokemon and pet them and shit like that. Except this time it's a little more advanced. You can let all your Pokemon out at once and have them running around like playing with each other and interacting with each other and things like that. So instead of just one Pokemon at a time, it's all of them. And you're gonna have like a wider variety of like different toys and things that you can use to interact with them. It showed like a little ball. You can like roll a ball and let them go get it for you, and it showed you with like the little Poke Toy thing, the little stick with a feather on it. You could like play with that, and they bat at it and stuff. So it's the way to increase your Pokemon's affection in order to, one, get Sylveon to evolve, and two, gain the benefits from affection. So like the increased EXP and the more likely to critical hit and all that stuff. Now the other thing that they showed you can do during the camp is they got a new little cooking mini game where you can cook curry, which is fine in and of itself. As far as I can tell, I don't think they mentioned like anything the curry actually does. So I don't know if like different types of curry. They did make it clear there's going to be over 100 different types of curry, which I'm gonna laugh my ass off when it turns out that there's more types of curry in this game than there are new Pokemon. I've had people say like, "Oh, because they cut the decks, that means they're gonna go back to having over 100 new Pokemon this gen." I don't see that happening. There's a chance that it could, but I don't think it's very likely. Especially when you got both Gigantamax and regional variants artificially increasing the number. I don't see us getting over 100 actual new numbered Pokemon and then a handful of Gigantamax forms and regional variants on top of that. I just don't see it happening. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, they said there are over 100 types of curry. I don't know what all these different types of curry do. I don't know if they'll like increase stats or have different effects based on like their flavor or whatever. So that remains to be seen. But here's my one issue with this. The little cooking mini game is fine. The curry bullshit is fine. I don't really care. My issue with this is that you have a little book that keeps all your curry recipes. So like there's different ingredients that you have to use, different berries and like sausage and bullshit. So once you use the different ingredients and discover a new curry recipe, it's recorded in the little book. Now the little book is being called the Curry Dex. And that's just an insult at this point. We can't have the National Dex, but we got the goddamn Curry Dex. Like that's just bullshit. I'm sorry. I know they're trying to be cute with these namings, but they should have known how that was going to go over. So that bullshit pisses me off. But other than that, as far as my thoughts on camping as a whole, alright, sorry about that, had a little camera issue there. But anyway, like I was saying, so I've seen people get really excited over this whole camping thing. And honestly, I don't know why people are getting so excited about it. Like, it's the updated refresh, like, okay, that's fine. But honestly, the first thing that come to my mind when I saw this was My Pokemon Ranch. You remember that game that everyone fucking hated because you could play it for 10 minutes and then get bored? That's what this looked like to me. Now I understand this is just like, a little side feature in the main game, while My Pokemon Ranch was supposed to be a fucking storage device. But anyway, that's the first thing that came to my mind. Like, were all these people just like over there jacking off to My Pokemon Ranch when that shit came out? I highly doubt it. I've also seen a lot of people claim like this is the new secret bases. Like I don't know what orifice they pulled that assumption out of, but that's jumping to a huge conclusion because nothing we saw in these trailers or on the site or anything suggested any sort of like customization or being able to battle or any hints of anything like secret bases other than the fact that they did say you could visit other people's camps and do the little cooking mini game thing with them, and I think pet their Pokemon because that's something I really want to do is go pet someone else's Pokemon. So any comparison trying to make any equivalency trying to be made between camp and secret bases, I think is sort of pulling stuff out of thin air. I don't really think that's what this is supposed to be. I think it's just supposed to be the updated version of Refresh. Now, in this, the last little bit of info during the camp thing, they actually showed that Alcremie, the Pokemon they showed before, is going to have an absolute shitload of new forms. So instead of just the one we've seen being the only one and then it Gigantamaxes, there's going to be a bunch of different variations of Alcremie. Now, we're not totally sure how many. So far, what we've seen is each of the variations has like a different colored body, and then the little like decorations in its hair. That the original one had strawberries in its hair. There's different decorations for it to have. One of it has like little flowers, and one of them has like little Lucky Charm looking 4-leaf clover things. So, based on what we've seen so far, there is at least 5 different little hair decorations and 8 different colored bodies. So, assuming that each color can be paired with each little hair decoration, that puts this thing at a minimum of 40 different forms, which will be a new record for how many forms a single Pokemon has. Not counting Spinda, obviously, because it has like 4 billion and something, because it's a special case. Other than that, this will be a new record. I think right now the highest is Unknown with 28 forms. So this blows that out of the water. Now, someone noticed that each of the little hair decorations can be found somewhere on Gigantamax Alcremie's cake body. So that could mean that there's more hair decorations that we haven't seen yet, or more color variations that we haven't seen yet either. So this thing could have actually way more than the 40 forms. They've only showed like 20 something so far, but they've all been like a random assortment of colors matched with hair things. So I'm sure that those random ones aren't going to be the only ones. It would only make sense to have each color paired with each decoration. And I don't know if that means each different one is going to get a different Gigantamax form, or if they're all going to have the same. They're all going to use the same model for Gigantamax. Since all the decorations are found on it, that might be lending to the idea that there's just going to be the one Gigantamax form that they all turn into regardless. Which would make a ton of sense, since the frosting colors would be different. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see. They didn't mention anything about Gigantamax Alcremie. So, Alcremie has a shitload of forms. That's the thing. I'm assuming they're all just aesthetic changes. I don't think they're going to change like its stats or anything. So, the other thing that I'm wondering about this is on Pokemon's Twitter, all of their Twitters in all their different languages, each one revealed like some of the different forms for Alcremie. So I think the big question right now is if Alcremie is going to end up working the same way that Vivillon did, where what form you get depends on your actual real world location, or at least the location you set your Switch to. Which means if it is, the only way to get all the different forms would be to go to GTS, which, one, costs money now because Nintendo Switch Online, And 2 would be an even more colossal pain in the ass because this thing has, at the very least, double the amount of forms that Vivillon did. Because Vivillon only had 20. So, if this thing is based on real world regions, they're pretty much really driving home the fact that they absolutely don't want you to have a living dex. They're pounding that idea home. But that's not confirmed. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe it's not. Maybe each one can be available in the game in some other way. We don't really know. What we do know is somebody who was working on this game was fucking starving. Because think about this, we got the little waifu mon that has like 40 something forms. We got the Pika clone who changes form based on if it's hungry or not. You got Cramorant whose whole thing is eating fish. You got over 100 different types of curry. You got the big ass cake as being one of the designs. Like, do y'all not feed y'all's developers? Like, what the fuck? Like, somebody designing this needs to eat. Like, everything we've seen has been about food or drink or something. We got the little ghost teapot thing. Like, y'all bitches need to eat. What the fuck? But anyway, that's all the important stuff. I've already rambled on for way too long, I know. Basically, I'm still in the same boat. None of this changes my position. Uh, I had three major issues with Gen 7. There were some other issues, but they were minor. My three big issues with those games were the fact that the regional variants were limited to Gen 1, which they fixed in this game. But then my other two big complaints were the fact that the National Pokedex was removed and that we didn't get any new Mega Evolutions. And now Sword and Shield have taken another step in the opposite direction on both of those by removing Megas outright and not only not bringing back the National Dex, but also making all the Pokemon in it unobtainable. So, doing one thing right doesn't make up for making the other two things worse. So, nothing they showed in any of these really, blah, blah, blah. Easy for me to say. Nothing they showed in any of these trailers changed my position. Honestly, I said before that if I get it all, I'm going to get it used. At this point, I'm leaning more towards not even bothering getting it used. Which might just be a side effect of me kind of being generally pissed off lately anyway for non-related reason. But some things here were good. Some things here were definitely a step in the right direction. But nothing was of great enough importance to make up for all the negatives that these games have really racked up in a short amount of time. But anyway, I guess that's all I got to say. So, lots of luck to you and yours.